Hello and welcome to part 3 of the chapter on HTML. So today we are going to discuss about table creation in HTML. So let us try to understand what are tables in HTML. So what are tables? Tables are objects that consist of rows and columns. In tables what we have two basic things. First is the rows and second are the columns. So this is a typical example of a table which consists of students' roll number, name and addresses. Here these parts, the ones which are highlighted, these are known as your rows, and these role name and address, if we look from the top to bottom, then these are known as nothing but columns. The first row is known as the table heading. So here how many rows we have? We have 4 rows. And how many columns do we have? We have 3 columns. And these parts are known as the table data. Our purpose is to make such a table in HTML. And this is called the name of the table, which is also known as the caption. So let us go to the basic structure of a HTML table. So an HTML table is defined by the table tag. So for defining a table, we will use the table tag. All the elements of an HTML table are enclosed within table and /table tags. Within the table tag, the structure of the table is created row by row with the help of tr and /tr tags. So after within the table tag, we will create as many as tr tags as the number of rows. So here how many rows were there in the previous table? 4 rows were there. So we will create 4 tr tags. After creating the rows, what we will do? We will enter the data items of the table with the help of the td tags. So td is basically used for entering the data items of a table. But for the first row, it is known as the table headings. For inserting the table headings, we will use th and /th tags instead of td and /td tags. By default, there is no border in a table. It can be specified by the border attribute of table tag by the syntax table border equals to value. So when we will create a table using the tags which were discussed just now, you will not get any border. But for specifying a border, we will require an attribute of the table tag which is known as the border attribute. You can give the title of a table with the help of the caption tag. So basically a table creation consists of opening and closing the table tags, within that creation of the rows by using the tr tags, and finally we have to insert the data items with the help of the td tags. I hope it is clear. So now let us go to creation of the tables. So our table that I want to create is this. We want to create this table. For creation of this table, what we can do? We can at first use any editor like Notepad, and there this is the basic structure of an HTML. I will not talk about this because it has already been discussed in part 1 and part 2. If you haven't watched it, I have given the link in the description. You can watch it before coming to the creation of tables. So whatever should be displayed within the web page, it will come under which tag? It will come under the body tag. So our aim is to create this table. So for creating a table, we use the table tag will be opened, and we have to close the table tag, and table tag should also be closed. Now after creating the table tag, each table has a what? Name. So for giving the name of the table, what is the name of this table? I have already shown in the slides. The name of the table is your this one, details of students. For giving the name of the table, what we need to do? We need to use the caption tag. So let us use the caption tag. Within the caption tag, we will give the name of the table, which is details of the students slash, and it will be ended with /caption. Okay. Next is the creation of the rows. If you see here, how many rows are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So, for 4 rows we will require 4 set of TR tags. Let us say this is the first TR tag. Let us close it here, and we will require 4 set of TR tags. Let us go with the first one. Now, within the TR tags we have to insert the table data. So, at first the first row will be filled, which is roll number, name and address. What is the first data item of the first row? It is roll number, but it is a table header. For table header we will use the tag called TH tag. Within TH tag we will give what? Roll, and we will have to close the TH tags also. After that, what is the second heading? It is the name. So, within TH tag we will just give here name, and next what is the third heading? The third heading is address. So, within TH tag what we will give? We will give the address, okay, and slash TH. So, our first row insertion is completed. Now, we will go to the second row. For creating the second row we require another set of TR tag. Now, let us see the data items. Roll number is 1, name is Alice, and address is Delhi. So, at first we have to enter the roll number, but this is a normal data. For the data items we will use the TD tags. So, here we will use TD tags. Within TD tag at first I will give the roll number, then within the second TD tag I will give the name is Alice, and within the third TD tag I will give the address, which is Delhi. So, I will give the address here. Okay. So, second row is completed. Now, for the third row we will again create a set of rows, and after that we will fill up the second row. Roll number is 2, name is Bob, and address is Guwahati. So, what we will do within, so roll number is 2, just close the TD tag, then name is Bob, and the third TD tag will have the address, which is what? Guwahati. So, we will write the address as Guwahati. Okay. And now for the, we have another one row. For that row we can just, it is similar. So, we can just copy and paste these parts, just the data items will change. Roll number is 3, name is Raj, and the address is Mumbai. So, within the first TD tag we will give roll number is 3, name as Raj, and the address as Mumbai. Okay. So, now our table creation is complete, and so at the end slash table is there, then we have closed the body, and finally we have closed the HTML. Now, we have to save this particular file. So, for saving it, what we will do, we will click on the save button, and within that we will just give a name of this file. Let us say I will give the name as table try dot, since it is an HTML file we have to give dot HTML, and then click on save. Okay. After clicking on save we have to go to that location where I have stored this particular file. I have made a folder called class 10 HTML. So, I will go within that folder. Within that folder I am seeing my file which says table try dot HTML. Now, I will just double click it and I will get the table. But see, here I have got the table, but there is no border in the table, which I have already mentioned. By default there won't be any border in the table. If you want to give the border to a table, you have to use another attribute to the table tag, which is the border attribute. So, let us modify it by giving a border. So, now there is no border. So, if I give border equals to 1 and then refresh this page, I will get a border. Now, you can increase the value of the border. As you increase the value, the border thickness will increase. Now, I have given the border equals to 5, and now if I refresh it, I have seen that the thickness of border has been increased. So, in this way you can just create a basic table. Let us move on to the next topic, which is your cell spacing. So, let us try to understand what cell spacing is. So, cell spacing refers to the amount of space between the individual cells. So, now if we do not use cell spacing, then what will happen? All the cells will intersect with each other. That means it will be joined, just like when a wall is constructed, the bricks are joined to each other. Similarly, here each individual cell will be joined to each other by default, but we can increase the space between the individual cells using the concept of cell spacing. Next, it is an attribute of the table tag. So, for using cell spacing attribute, we have to do it within the table tag itself. What is the syntax or what is the rule for doing so? We have to write table cell spacing equals to value. Higher the value, more will be the gap between the individual cells. So, for example, if I write table cell spacing equals to 10, then I will get the table as follows. Okay. So, here as you can see, between each cell there is some gap, and this gap is because of the cell spacing. Okay. So, let us try to implement cell spacing in our previous table. So, here, so this is our previous table and this is the status of the table. Okay. So, now what we will do, we are going to implement cell spacing here. So, what we will do, within the table tag only we have to give the attribute. So, border we have given as 1. So, since cell spacing is also an attribute of the table tag, so we have to use cell spacing within the table tag itself. So, what we will write here, cell spacing equals to, let us say I am giving as 3. Okay. And let us say this was our previous thing, I have refreshed it. So, as you can see there is some gap. Okay. So, if I just increase the value from 3 to, let us say I have increased the value to 10. Now, you will find that the gap has increased more. Okay. So, this is called cell spacing, means you can give a gap to the individual cells by using the attribute cell spacing. Now, let us go to the next concept, which is cell padding. What is cell padding? It refers to the amount of space between the cell border and the cell contents. So, by default there is no space between cell border and the cell contents. There is very little space, but you can increase the amount of space as per your convenience using the concept of cell padding. So, it is an attribute of the table tag. That means, we have to use this cell padding within the table tag itself, just as we use the border and just as we use the cell spacing. What is the syntax or what is the rule? Table cell spacing equals to value. For example, table cell spacing, here it should be cell padding. So, table cell padding equals to 10. So, here this is without using cell padding. So, before using cell padding this was the status, but after using cell padding you can see that there is some gap between the text of each particular cell. Okay. So, between the cell border and the content of the individual cells, previously before cell padding there was no gapping, but now here you can see that there is some amount of gap. That is because of the concept of cell padding. So, this is the status after cell padding. Okay. So, here I have made one mistake, here instead of cell spacing I should write cell padding. Okay. Now, let us implement it. So, for giving cell padding, here I will just modify the previous one only, cell padding equals to, let us give it as 5 in the beginning, and then, so this was our previous status. See, there is no gap between the contents of individual cells, but now if I just refresh it, you can find that there is gap. That gap has come because of uses of cell padding. If you want to increase the gap, you can just increase the value of cell padding. I have increased the value. Now, if I refresh it, it will increase by a greater distance. Okay. So, this is the concept of your cell padding. Let us go to the next concept, which is row span. Sometimes you might want to merge more than one row. So, for merging more than one row, we have a term known as row span. Okay. So, it is an attribute that can be used with TD or TH tag. So, for doing that things, for merging more than one rows, you have an attribute called row span, which can be used either with TD tags or with TH tags. It is used to span two or more rows in a table. As I have already said, for merging two or more rows, you use the attribute called row span along with TD or TH tags. What is its syntax? The syntax is TD row span equals to number of rows to span. If you want to combine two rows, you will give TD row span equals to 2. If you want to combine 4 rows, you will give TD row span equals to 4. Okay. So, this is an example of we have taken the previous table only into account, but here what we have done, we have merged the two rows, like in the address field of roll number 2 and 3, we have merged the address which is Delhi. Okay. Let us learn how to implement row span, and with our output should be as follows. Okay. So, here what has been done, row spanning has been done in these two rows. Okay. So, let us implement the concept of row span. So, what we want to do, let us say the address of both the persons are Delhi. Okay. The address of Bob is also Delhi and the address of Raj is also Delhi. So, instead of making two cells, we can merge these two cells using the concept of row span. So, what are the roll numbers 2 and 3? What are the fields? Address. Okay. Let us say both of them stays in Delhi. So, what we will write here in the second row, TD row span equals to how many rows are to be merged? 2. Where does they stay? They stays at Delhi. So, I will write here Delhi. So, the third person, that means Raj, also stays in Delhi. So, but we have already merged these two rows, therefore, the third TD is not required. Why it is not required? Because we have already merged it with the second address, that is Delhi. Now, we will just save it, and this is our table, and if we refresh it, what we will find? We will find that these two rows are merged. This is known as row span. So, if you do row span, you have to use the attribute along with the TD or TH tags, and if you are merging, let us say these two rows, so in the third row, you need not give any value for the address column. Okay, is it clear? You should just try it along with this video, and hence it will be much more clearer. Let us go to the next concept, which is of call span. What is it? It is an attribute that can be used with TD or TH tags, just as row span. It is used to span or merge two or more columns in a table. So, if we want to merge two or more columns in a table, then we will use the concept of call span. What is the syntax? TD's call span equals to number of columns to span. If you want to span 3 columns, you will give TD's call span equals to 3. If you want to span 2 columns, you will give TD call span equals to 2. So, this is an example of call span, where call span is happening in the third row. In the third row, I have not given the roll number, and I have merged the roll number and the name fields. So, here since I have merged two columns, it is known as call span. Let us try to implement call span. So, this is our code. What is the requirement? We have to merge the first and the second columns of the third roll number. Okay. So, roll number is not required now. So, what we will do? We will remove this roll number, and this Raj will be merged with the roll number column. So, here what we will do? We will do TD call span equals to how many columns has been merged here? 2 columns, roll number and name. These 2 columns has been merged. So, we will give call span equals to what? We will give call span equals to 2. And since The roll number is not there, therefore, I have removed the previous TD from the third row. Let us save it, and this is the output before you applying call span, and after applying call span, if I refresh it, you will see that Raj has been merged here. Okay. Let us go to our last topic for the day, which is alignment. What is alignment? It refers to the position of text or objects within the cells. It also refers to the position of the table in a web page. So, using the concept of alignment, you can change the position of text, like it can be in the right side, it can be in the center, and by default, if you do not specify any alignment, it is towards the left side only. Also, you can change the position of the table. When it is used as an attribute with the table tag, the position of the entire table is changed. If you want to change the position of the table itself, then you have to use the alignment along with the table tag. When it is used with as an attribute with the TD or TH tags, the position of text within a table changes. If you want to change the position of text within a table, then you have to use it as an attribute to the TD or TH tags. So, there are some the attribute is align and the values are left, right or center. Here in the image it is said that I have taken a text alias, I have shown it by using left alignment, right alignment and center alignment. Let us try to implement it in our code. So, at first let us say I want to move the entire table to the center. Now, the entire table is where? It is towards the left. If I want to move it to the center, what I will do? I will write align equals to center. Since I want to now move the entire table itself, then I have to give the align attribute with the table tag. So, the spelling is CENTER. Okay. Now, let us refresh it, and you can find that the position of the entire table has changed. Now, let us change the position of some text within the table. Let us say now Raj is aligned towards the left. Let us say I want to change the position of Raj towards the extreme right. Okay. So, what I will do? I will go to that particular TD tag, and there I will write the align attribute. So, here I have gone to the TD tag which consisted of the element Raj. So, here what I will do? Align equals to, if I want to take it to the extreme right, I will give align equals to right, and then save it, and if I refresh it, Raj has moved from here to here. Similarly, you can do it for all of the text. Okay, let us say I want to take Raj from here to here. You can do it for all of this text. It is not that you have to do only on that particular field which you have row spanned or call span. You can do it in normal cells also. So, let us say I want to move Raj to the center. I'll just give it to the here as center. Let us say I want to take this roll number 1 also to the center. So, I will give align equals to CENTER. I will just save it and just refresh the page. So, as you can see, this one has gone to the right center, and this Raj has also come to the center. Okay. So, I have discussed with you about the basics of table creation in HTML. I hope the session was useful. I will see you again in the next class.